After Nirn was born, the Aedra withdrew from their creation, becoming distant, aloof, and disinterested in the affairs of mortals. But beyond the Mundus, in the infinite variation of Oblivion, there were other godlike entities of great power, known as the Daedra, who began to take a malign interest in the realm the Aedra had created. The first large-scale religious sect espousing Daedra worship was born in the heart of Somerset itself. There, in the rainbow shadow of the Crystal Tower, the so-called prophet Veloth communed with the Daedric prince Boethia and agreed to accept her gifts. He inscribed the Velothi prophecies, which expounded the doctrine of worship of the good Daedra, Boethia, Azura and Mephala. The followers of Saint Veloth, who became known as the Chimer, were willing to trade the paradise of Golden Somerset for the purgatory of Ashen Morrowind, all in return for the illusory gifts of the Daedra. The Daedra are seldom portrayed as equals to the Aedra. Unlike those committed to the founding of Mundus, the Daedra, though masters of change and metamorphosis, cannot create. They are restricted to use that which has already been created. So why were the Changed Ones, the Chimer, so acquiescent to follow the good Daedra across the perilously unknown landscapes of Tamriel? Well, the teachings of Boethia, Azura and Mephala paved the way for the changed folk to perceive life through a new lens, one that would make them more resilient and more powerful than all the other mortals. The Fourth Era has brought nothing but suffering to this cursed race, but if the good Daedra are to be believed, this will not stop them, and they will rise from the ashes of Morrowind once again, more formidable and powerful than ever before. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. In this video I'm going to explore the fundamental difference between the Dunmer and the other races of Tamriel, and in doing so I'll make the argument that, despite their current predicament, they will inevitably become the most powerful race on the continent. We could talk extensively about how unique the Dunmeri are in terms of culture, customs, beliefs, appearance, architecture and so on, but if we did that this video would probably be an hour long. Instead, we're going to hone in on the series of events that led to the race being so alien when compared to the others on Tamriel, and from there we can learn the crucial principle behind my theory. It can all be traced back to one time and one place. That time is the Merethic era, and that place is Somerset. All of the races of Mer on Tamriel originated from the early Aldmer. One exception may well be the Dwemer, but that is a subject for a later video. Anyway, at this time Trinimac, the champion of Auriel, taught the elves that the only reason they had been trapped in mortality was due to Lorkhan's trickery. It was a deception, and it embittered the Aldmer, making them resent the creator of the mortal realm. Boethia, the Daedric prince of plots, conspiracy and sedition, approached a group of Trinimac's followers and offered them an alternative. Boethia is often associated with warriors and blood sport, and his sphere is very much about overcoming adversity. If you'd like to know more about this fascinating prince, I have a recent video going into great detail on her. Boethia appeared before Veloth and other Aldmer, telling them that Lorkhan is not to blame. It is rather the case that the Aldmer were weak and unworthy of a place in Aetherius. Lorkhan therefore put them on Mundus as a test, mortality being a trial which all Mer had to endure and overcome. According to the book The Changed Ones, the events unfolded like this. Boethia, Prince of Plots, precocious youth, tricked Trinimac to go into his mouth. Boethia talked like Trinimac for a while then, and gathered enough people to listen to him. Boethia showed them the lies of the Atada, the Aedra, and told them Trinimac was the biggest liar of all, saying all this with Trinimac's own voice. Boethia told the mass before him the triangled truth. He showed them with Mephala the rules of Sigic endeavour. He taught them how to build houses and what items they needed to bury in the corners. He demonstrated the right way to wear their skin. He performed the way to walk to achieve an exodus. Then Boethia relieved himself of Trinimac right there on the ground before them, to prove all the things he said were the truth. It was easy then for his new people to become the Changed Ones. Now there is no proving whether Boethia or Trinimac speaks the truth. It is most likely some combination of the two. But what Boethia created in this group was an attitude of persistence. If what Trinimac says is true, then the whole universe is out to get you, and you might as well give up. But with Boethia, Veloth and his followers have something to strive for, something to motivate them for better and for worse. A few other important details were revealed in that excerpt from the Changed Ones. Firstly, we know that Mephala and Azura assisted Boethia in teaching the Kai'ma to be their own unique race. Azura taught the Kai'ma the mysteries needed to be different to the Altmer, and Mephala taught the Kai'ma the skills they would need to evade their enemies or to kill them with secret murder. We also see mention of the Psijic Endeavour and the path to achieve Exodus. This is vital to the creed of the Kai'ma and subsequently the Dunmer. The Psijic Endeavour is a process by which the Kai'ma are charged with transcending the gods that created them. This is the process of achieving Kim. So all in all, we can say with confidence that the residents of Morrowind are not different to the other races of Tamriel solely based on aesthetics. Their chitinous crafting and insectile architecture are alien to most Outlanders, but this is only one aspect of their Velothi principles. Their culture was built on the idea that mortality is a test, and every obstacle is a blessing, for it gives them another chance to prove their ability to ascend to the heavens. Immortals can't be harmed, so they have no way to comprehend pain. This is unique to mortals, and as a result of this, only mortals can heal. Only mortals understand that progress is a byproduct of recovery. Suffering leads to growth. This is an indispensable concept to live by, and the Kai'ma have implemented it effectively. The question now is, what am I getting at with this? Well, if I give you a brief recount of the events transpiring in the last few centuries, you'll soon see just how brutal the years have been to the Kai'ma people. In a foreign land, the Kai'ma were constantly at odds with the Nords, the Orcs and the Dwemer. The Nords were a force to be reckoned with, thanks to their use of the Fuum, but the Dwemer proved to be the biggest thorn in their side. They far outnumbered the Kai'ma and had astonishingly advanced technologies propelling them to success. The Kai'ma persevered, and eventually they set aside their differences with the Dwemer, forming the First Council, a mighty alliance. Unfortunately, just as quickly as they'd overcome their adversity, the deeds of Vivec, Almalexia and Sophasil thrust them back into the throes of tribulation. Ignoring Azura's warning and abusing Mephala's gift of deception, the Tribunal sought to achieve godhood by tapping into the heart of Lorkhan. Unlike the Dwemer, they did not disappear. In fact, they became living demigods. But sullying Azura's vanity and insulting her honour led to a cruel curse. The Tribunal did not suffer for their actions, but the entire race did in their stead. The Kai'ma transformed into the Dunmer, luminescent gold skin turned ash grey, like an incandescent inferno quenched by a tidal wave. The coals drenched, dun and lifeless. Their eyes became blood red as well. A gloom fell upon the once magnificent race. Soon after the rise of the Tribunal, a meteor plunged towards Vivec City. Its exact origins are unknown, but most theories dismiss any chance of a coincidence. The commonly held belief is that Sheogorath sent the rock as a punishment for the Tribunal's disrespect to the gods, or perhaps as nothing more than a lark. Vivec used his power to interrupt its course, and held the rock suspended in the air as a representation of his might and his benevolence. But when the Tribunal fell and Vivec disappeared, the rock collided with Vivec City, continuing its once suspended trajectory. Shortly before this, the Oblivion crisis took place, and the Dunmer suffered greatly when the Empire withdrew their forces from Morrowind, prioritising the welfare of their own province. The combined chaos of the crisis and the fall of the Ministry of Truth was enough to shake Morrowind to its core, and the fallout from the collision triggered the eruption of Red Mountain. Vardenfell was turned into an ashen wasteland, only hospitable for the Ashlanders. The air across Morrowind was tainted by ash, and on top of this, the Argonians, after centuries of subjugation and slavery at the hands of the Dark Elves, utilised their unscathed position to invade. The Histries and the lizard folk who venerated them had gotten through the crisis relatively unharmed, and their former masters in southern Morrowind were faring much worse. What followed was the systematic murder of countless Dark Elves. Many southern regions were conquered by the invading Argonians, and those who escaped were forced to seek refuge in other lands. An account transcribed by a Telvanni servant tells of the horrors. Is this the end of all things? Are we to die by the cruel barbed blades of the Argonian invasion force? After surviving the Red Year, struggling to dig from the ash and the rubble, and burying the thousands that died, is this to be our epitaph? The irony of our demise glows brighter than Massa on the summer solstice. We brought this upon ourselves, the Argonians simply answering a rallying cry incited by a millennia of suffrage imposed by my kind. And so here I sit, in the crumbling basement of our family home, while 1,000 booted feet echo above me, and the screams of the dying find their way to my ears. so falls House Telvanni. What remains of the Dunmer is a scattered, broken and demoralised mess. It's hard to imagine a way back for this once glorious race. But I think there is a silver lining for the Dunmer, a blessing in a brutal, visceral disguise. In Boethiah's blood sports, the Prince of Plots chooses a champion. That champion endures much hardship, suffers countless wounds, and kills mercilessly until their boots are stained a vibrant red. But when they emerge on the other side, they are showered in euphoric glory. The Kaimer struggled immensely when they first arrived in Resdain, the province we now know as Morrowind. They had enemies everywhere they looked. The Akaviri came from across the seas, the Nords came from the mountains, and the Dwemer came from the very earth beneath them. Yet centuries later, the Dwemer were gone, the Akaviri invaders were gone, the Nords were pushed back beyond the Velothi Mountains, and the Kaimer were prosperous. Even when their skin was turned a dull grey, they had 3 once mortal gods leading them. Just as they did before, I think the Dunmer will take the teachings of their Daedra lords to heart, and they will rise again, stronger than ever before. Boethiah espouses the importance of overcoming all obstacles. Mephala lurks in her web, ready to teach the new generation about the arts of secret murder. And Azura, she embodies their struggle. She is the dawn and the dusk. The Dunmer are stuck in a long period of darkness. Things seem irredeemable, but it is always darkest before the dawn, and the Dunmeri resilience will soon pay off. And there you have it guys, why the Dunmer will rise again. I hope you enjoyed the video, thanks so much for watching, my name is Drew, and I'll see you next time.